Hello everybody, welcome and thank you for joining me. Please note, there's no moaning or groaning, no negativity, just facts. And unfortunately, the facts are currently not pretty. I'm going to leave the worst for last, so I'm quickly going to address the security surrounding Harry and Meghan's visit in July. Now, okay, I sincerely and honestly think this whole hoo-ha is a big piece of gaslighting bullshit. And I'll tell you why. The BBC, which is, incidentally, very deep in the pockets of government and the monarchy, now reported that Ravik announced on Friday that no police protection will be provided for Harry and his family. Now, I'm so sorry, blokes and oaks, that does not make any sense, and I smell a rat, or two, or three. And here is why. The High Court, by rejecting Harry's application, did so on the premise that the bespoke security he has been given was indeed fair and enough. And the bespoke security basically entailed him having to give 28 days notice before his visit, and then of course it isn't a 24-hour security service. They look at his itinerary and will say provide full cover for him attending court or an event. But once they safely got him back to where he was staying, that is it. Then Harry and his private security were on their own. And of course there's no stopping traffic, no outriders, etc. But the security, the Met security he had before going to court, was still being protected by at least two RASP or RASP members and a couple of uniformed cops. Not no security. However, the BBC now make it sound like Harry won't be getting any security, that Ravik is refusing him any security, although they have known for months about his visit. Now, I call it bullshit, okay? So what the BBC is saying, in effect, is that Ravik is going against a court decision. No way, not in a month of Sundays. However, in the very same BBC article from which all the other articles and all the hoo-ha and all the baloo on social media spring, they also state that a government spokesperson basically refused to comment, and they actually kindly quote him or her saying that its protective security system was indeed rigorous and proportionate, and I quote, "It is our long-standing policy not to provide detailed information on those arrangements, as doing so could compromise their integrity and affect individuals' security." Now that is exactly what they told my friend, exactly what they told Lauren the Insider, and that is exactly what they ended up telling the BBC. So where did the BBC hear that Harry was not going to get any taxpayer-funded security? Did they hear it from Meghan? Or did they hear it from Torben Andre or Buckingham Palace's media centre? I would not be surprised at all, because I am 101% sure Charles is indeed fully aware of what has been said these last few, say 2 weeks. I would not even be surprised if he asked Ravik to deny supplying security. And you know, it is so easy to cover it up. Okay, so there are a few coppers at the venues. Yes, my darlings, they are not there for Harry. Don't be silly. They are there for traffic and crowd control. Yeah, all 10 photographers. Anyway, there's that. Or they hide it in plain sight. Harry and his family will have all the security they need, staying in a royal residence, they say. Yes, indeed, they will have a driver driving them out of the residence, a bodyguard, a RASP, in the passenger seat, their own security, which will likely include David Langdon, because he's allowed to carry a weapon in England, along with 1 or 2 plainclothes guys, will likely follow in a second vehicle. And I mean, who's going to know who those other 2 plainclothes blokes are? And at the venue, there will be a number of uniformed guys waiting. Of course, not for Harry, but, you know, to control the traffic and the crowd. Jeez, just do not let it be known that it is for Harry and Meghan. That's all that's needed. And I mean, if it does come out that it's for Harry or Meghan, they will just deny it. I mean, it could have been for Beyonce or Madonna for all they know. And those other blokes, oh, I mean, they are RASP protection already working for the royals, who Charles just graciously lent to Harry, seeing that Big Bad Ravik does not want to give him taxpayer security. Now I wonder who pays those officers that he actually will be lending to Harry. Well, you know, possibly, allegedly. I mean, it can't possibly be the taxpayer, can it? Folks, in my opinion, this is all bullshit. How many of us had said over and over and over that we will believe Meghan will not dare put foot on British soil and bring the children? I mean, she may be brass neck enough, but anyway, how many of us have said, watch, something will go wrong last minute so that she has an excuse not to bring the children? Yep, you are right. A number of us said so. I'm not the only one. I'm not going to argue or debate this any further. Honestly, I'm strictly seeing is believing in this instance. So I'm going to wait and watch when Harry arrives. I bet you he or they get taken off the tarmac in a black SUV. Okay, guys, that is my opinion. And in the meantime, we have other more important fish to fry. Now, the first question that springs to mind is, where do we stand in the world? Now, we need to talk about where we stand in the world. And it is not very complicated, again, in my opinion. Let me explain it to you like this. As a European, meaning a white English, Afrikaans, German, Dutch speaking person living in Africa, you need to understand that England or Britain or then the United Kingdom is sort of an anchor, a motherland of sorts. Even if our direct families have not lived in Britain for 2 or 3 generations. It had always been our anchor, and one of the first countries my family migrated back to, followed by other Commonwealth realm countries, obviously, like Canada, New Zealand, Australia. Now, however, we can see our base, our motherland, our anchor, and our identity as English-speaking Europeans being vaporized, disappearing right in front of our eyes. And I must be honest, it leaves me feeling a little rudderless. So I cannot begin to imagine what born and bred British citizens must feel like. I just can't. It is truly way too much for my brain. Now, Keir Starmer is now gone and soon will be replaced by likely Andy Burnham. I believe Charles would have loved it if Keir was replaced by Angela Rayner, as it would have given them an excuse to meet. But I think she spoiled any chance of that happening by getting drunk and breaking a door of a bar at Parliament. One of the most ridiculous things I've heard in a long time. It just proves the Afrikaans saying we have, al dra 'n aap 'n goue ring, hy bly steeds 'n aap, translating to even if an ape wears a gold ring, he's still an ape. Now, I'm sorry, she's pretty with good hair, but a Margaret Thatcher, she is not. Anyway, so I personally do not feel that much will change after Starmer's final departure. It will just be made more superficially palatable because the next guy may be a little more charming and with no rent boys burning down his stuff, that kind of thing, and we can only hope. However, on this channel, not our only, but our main topic is, of course, the British royal house and family, and with all due respect to my subscribers and viewers, the British royal house needs remodeling, if not a total cleansing. But by now you, or most of you, have heard of Charles and how he has now remodeled himself as supreme leader and defender of all faith or faiths in Britain. So, my dear, if you believe in fairies, you are now indeed safe. The King of England will protect you, likely more and better than he would protect the Christians in his country. We have now all seen and heard what Charles's new role is, one which he indeed assigned himself, thereby changing the constitution and the entire fabric of the country and everything British, and that without a vote or referendum. He took it upon himself to do and say what he wants to, and with no care or concern for the British public or the oath he took to uphold the Christian faith. But before we get into what Charles himself said, I want to read something to you. Even if you are not Christian, this will help you understand why we as Christians cannot accept Charles's support of other faiths over our own. The phrase, God is a jealous God, appears multiple times in the Bible, primarily to describe God's demand for exclusive devotion and his protective love for his people. In Exodus 34 verse 14, for you shall worship no other God, for the Lord is a jealous God. Exodus 20 verse 5, you shall not worship them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God. There are numerous other verses repeating this. Now, obviously, in this context, we are not talking about human envy and jealousy, but instead, we are talking about the exclusive covenant relationship between God and his followers. Now, just quickly for context, the formal dictionary and biblical meaning of the word covenant is a solemn binding agreement between two parties that establishes a formal, lasting, lifetime relationship. It involves the exchange of lives and loyalties rather than goods and services. So when Charles repeated his coronation oath, what exactly did he promise? With his hand on the Bible. Well, seeing that all are focused on what Charles changed, let's talk about what he did not change. The Archbishop, as part of Charles's oath, asks the following: will you, to the utmost of your power, maintain the laws of God and the true profession of the gospel? Will you, to the utmost of your power, maintain in the United Kingdom the Protestant Reformed religion established by law? Will you maintain and preserve inviolably the settlement of the Church of England and the doctrine, worship, discipline, and government thereof as by law established in England? And will you preserve unto the bishops and clergy of England and to the churches committed to their charge all such rights and privileges as by law do or shall appertain to them or any of them? And Charles answered, all this I promise to do. So now that that is established, let's have a look at what British law states. Under the Act of Settlement 1701, the monarch must be in communion with the Church of England and uphold the Protestant succession, while the Succession to the Crown Act 2013 removed the ban on royals, including the monarch, marrying Catholics. The monarch themselves must remain Protestant. The Church of England is the established state church, meaning its legislative body requires formal approval from Parliament. So currently, church and state cannot, by law, be separated. So how or why Charles and his advisors thought they could alter his anointed role without the permission of the state and citizens of Great Britain, no one knows. Is it ignorance, stupidity, or is it narcissism and hatred of the British natives? Well, I personally would guess all of it. So in the Sovereign Grant Report, Charles's constitutional role is now being described as the one who protects the space for faith within Britain's multi-faith nation, in addition to his role as Supreme Governor of the Church of England. No, 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 no. He cannot be both. He cannot celebrate Iftar and be Supreme Governor of a Protestant church. He cannot kiss the belly of Buddha and be the Supreme Governor of the Church of England, or for that matter, wash the feet of the Pope. Of course, this does not mean that one should not respect people of different persuasion. Of course we should. But respect does not mean bending the knee to a drug addict, nor does it mean packing dates for iftar and refusing to do a short address during Easter when you are the Supreme Governor of a Protestant church. Charles is indeed, no matter how you look at it, in violation of his coronation oath, and he is in violation of British law. Now, a couple of things. It gives me no pleasure whatsoever to say this, but I am going to anyway, because the harassment I've been receiving over the past few months had indeed been very painful. So, here it is. I told you so. I told you so, even before Charles became king. Diana told you so, and the Queen and Prince Philip both knew that Charles was not fit to be king. And now what? I watched a number of people yesterday, British men and priests, etc., and I'm stumped. I'm actually shocked into silence. One person even loudly proclaiming, "So what can we do?" What you can do and should do if you want to save your country is to do what you did to Starmer. Get Charles Mountbatten Windsor off that bloody throne. Petition your government. Protest, whatever it takes. My dear friends, a couple of months ago I spoke to a very, very knowledgeable person, and the subject of Andrew and Charles came up, and what was said to me I have to date never repeated on this channel. But now I will say it, because maybe it will shock the people into action. He said to me, "You know, Lynn, there's a reason why Charles does not want his brother to see the inside of a courtroom. It's because he is worse than his brother." Now, he did not give details, and I did not ask, but it had been my opinion and conviction all along that if Andrew is stripped for his 10 to 15-year relationship with Epstein, then Charles should be stripped for his 30-year friendship with Savile. If Andrew is to be stripped for shady business deals, then Charles should be stripped for the same and worse. Selling state gifts, taking money from known criminals, the list is long. Even selling access to himself. You do not blame it all on Michael Fawcett. He did it all with permission of the king himself. And what I detest even more than all of this is how the kind and beautiful people of Britain are being lied to and manipulated. The royal family does not cost the people 100 million or the 100 million of the sovereign grant. No, in a single fiscal year, they are more likely to cost in excess of 500 million. And no, they themselves do not bring in billions in tourism. Very few people really give a fig about Charles. His cupboard is so full of skeletons that no one, except the most die-hard, almost delusional sycophants, actually still cling to him. Now, I know it's not up to me, but if I could offer an opinion, I would say give his son William a chance. But if William is not prepared to side with the British and take his oath seriously by living the promises he made, then offer it to Edward. But if all else fails, then off to a republic you go. Countries like France and Portugal survived, and you will too. You cannot for a minute longer walk around turning a blind eye to what is being done to one of the most beautiful, most historic countries in the world. Charles does not deserve to be on your priority list. It is God, family and country. Charles Mountbatten Windsor is a billionaire who became a billionaire off your backs, your hard work. Now I see today that PR is in full spin. Catherine finishing the Three Peaks challenge with a full video. William recording and releasing a video message for the newly launched Queen Elizabeth digital memorial, and photo after photo of Charles arriving at the opening of the Scottish Parliament. Now there's absolutely, and I mean it, absolutely nothing whatsoever wrong with any of these actions. But we all know how the royal family work. And then, not one, but two videos appearing on the same day as Charles's appearance at the Scottish Parliament. Really? Since when? It is all, in my opinion, to bring down the mood, calm the people, give us something good and wholesome to look at. It is from the old playbook. They used to calm us down, manipulate us with a birth, a wedding, or cutting a cake, or going to some AIDS or cancer charity, etc., etc. Now, I'm afraid the citizens and the government need to stand up, get Charles out and have a serious roundtable talk with the rest of the royal family. Let the one who is indeed prepared to play by the rules ascend to the throne. And if neither William nor Edward is prepared to play by the rules and to live by the rules, then so be it. Then you have to let it go. I do not know what else to say to you. I would like to one day bring or send my grandson, and I would like to take him to the Wickham Caves and show him Piccadilly and show him the working castles and the ruins and Madame Tussauds, just take him to the countryside where the grass is a different green from here. But we cannot do it while evil rules, and it is not safe. And I must add that I never, as someone living in South Africa, thought I would hear myself say that. And on that note, please take good care of yourselves, stay vigilant, and stay safe. Bye.